Hey everybody, Dirili here. I am back with another reading of Destiny's Princess. On Yukimura's route, we are going for his second ending now. And as usual, for better, less awkward readings with less mistakes, please visit my main channel, linked in the description and elsewhere. Although there'll be different titles, it's not the same thing. Anyway, let's go after Yukimura's second ending here, and hopefully it will be better than the first one. Alright, once everything is settled... okay, everything's set up now. Once everything is settled, I'll go with you. I looked up at Yukimura as I answered. Even if we won the fight against the demons, this country was still plagued with problems. As sole survivor of the ruling family, I had to at least see the subjects and vassals through them.
After everything's settled, huh? You're quite practical.
Is that a bad thing?
No, it's not bad. That's one of the things I love about you. Saya.
Yukimura closed his eyes. As his lips came closer, I closed mine too, just as I was waiting for his kiss. There was a shout from the other side of the door. Okay, can we skip some of this? Is it skippable? I hope it stops when there's new material. Oh, thank. Oh no, wait. Oh, I don't know. I hope I'm doing this right. Let's see. I shall... I'm supposed to smile, okay. Please stop when there's new material. Yeah, it seems like this almost appears to be the same stuff to me as far as I can tell. And here again, ignore the dagger. So we had to make the choices in both endings. Okay, so it's just this part that's different. The final chapter. Okay. Divine creation of void. The earth rumbled loudly beneath my feet. Everything shook so hard, I thought the whole world was going to turn upside down. The castle! It was falling! The watchtower was crushed as if it had been hit by a sledgehammer and fell to the ground. Rocks fell from the stone walls, and there was the sound of something large tumbling down.
Saya!
As I stood there watching in stunned silence, Yukimura grabbed my hand. He shouted to all the others staring up at the castle.
Run! We have to get far away!
His cry brought everyone back to their senses.
Ugh.
Screaming, the men and women and soldiers and lay people alike all scattered, running away. Yukimura and I too ran for our lives, hand in hand. The castle! The castle I'd been so heartbroken to see burn and fall. In the end, it was being destroyed. And yet, it was different than last time. I'd said it myself, as long as the people survived, we could rebuild the castle. And even if I couldn't have that, I had Yukimura. That fact alone was 1,000,000 times greater than a happiness than when I'd been dying all alone. Behind us, the castle continued to crumble. It was as if it were trying to return to its true state the night the demons had destroyed it. The next morning, the sun rose, and finally able to survey the area, Yukimura and I gazed at the castle. Or, more precisely, the ruins that once had been the castle. Once the stone walls remained. Oh, only the stone walls remained, the rest charred and burnt a deep black. Yukimura sighed and scratched his head.
It's totally destroyed.
Totally.
You don't seem very upset.
Yukimura glanced at me from the side of his eyes and smiled. Only because at least the people are all safe, and I have you here with me.
I see. I guess that's good enough.
Yukimura again smiled comfortingly.
I don't even want to think about what comes next, though. Where are we even going to start?
I smiled at Yukimura's complaining, and then suddenly realized something with alarm. The castle had fallen not long after the dagger had been destroyed. The castle built by the dagger's demonic magic had lost its power and returned to its former state. Even though last night it had been untouched by fire, now it looked obviously burnt. In that case, what would happen to the people? The subjects and vassals had all forgotten who Yukimura was. He remembered who I was for now, but what would happen next? I wonder if Father and the other men are okay.
Well, we saw the flare, and the demons were gone, so Takayori must have been killed, but...
As we talked, we heard the rustling of footsteps in the undergrowth approaching us.
Yukimura, is that you?
Oh, I'm surprised he's still here. I thought they would have been gone by now.
Masamune, you're alive!
It was Masamune, along with a few vassals. Everyone looked exhausted. I'm so glad you're okay. Was anyone hurt?
Well, Princess, we...
The vassal, though appearing fine, glanced nervously between Yukimura and Masamune. I could tell by his eyes he no longer remembered either of them.
So, where are Father and Kotaro? Yes, about that. Something slightly strange happened.
Masamune tilted his head, perplexed.
We fought through the demons left in the castle and burned Takayori's body. Then suddenly, Kotaro disappeared, but knowing he's a ninja, I didn't think much of it.
He would have to be the first one.
But then, as we were about to leave, Nobunaga suddenly stopped and said something. He said, "We did what we had to do." And then? And then he just vanished. What?
Yukimura's eyes went wide.
Then, that means he was, like, spirited off by a ghost or something? I'm not sure. He just up and disappeared right before my eyes. That's insane.
I gulped, and Yukimura too stared wildly.
There must be some mistake. Maybe he slipped and fell down somewhere or something. There wasn't anywhere he could have fallen or hid. We looked everywhere for him. But while we did, the soldiers also said weird things. They couldn't remember Nobunaga at all. And they looked at me too, whom they just followed into battle like I was a stranger. What the hell is all this about?
Yukimura looked utterly at a loss. Timidly, I broke in. But, Masamune, nothing happened to you? Masamune looked at me. He stared at me as if seeing me for the first time, then hesitantly answered.
Actually, I've been confused about something this whole time. Why am I talking to you like we're such good friends? Huh? And who are you?
The instant Masamune turned to me and said those words, right before my eyes he disappeared into thin air.
Masamune! A ghost!
The vassal let out a shrill scream and ran away. Yukimura looked around.
Masamune! Masamune!
He shouted at the top of his lungs. I grabbed onto his arm.
Yukimura!
God, I'm sorry. Yukimura! Yukimura, he's gone home. You won't find him anywhere.
Gone home? Gone home where? Our castle is gone. Our castle is home.
I shook my head again and again at the frantic Yukimura. This was hard to say. It was hard, but the time had come to tell. They had granted my wish. They had risked their lives to fight and save the castle. If I told Yukimura now, I would never be able to see him again. Still holding on tight to his sleeve, I looked up at his face. I love you, Yukimura.
Saya?
Yukimura's face blurred. My eyes burned, but the tears trailing down my cheeks were cool. There's something I have to tell you. I looked straight at Yukimura through my swimming vision as I spoke. The sky was a clear azure blue. The blackened ruins around us were etched like ink in the midst of it. I prayed deep within my heart that no matter how much time passed, I would at least never forget Yukimura's face. Save time. The beginning of times. Please let that be a good sign. Some time passed. Finally, everything's quiet. After the castle had fallen, I'd found a small room left standing and had been sleeping there. Life was hard, but compared to those who'd lost their houses, at least I had a roof over my head. But that wasn't the end of the country's chaos. No sooner had the demons disappeared than the surrounding watchful nations rose up. For a while, I'd forgotten that before the demons we battled with other humans. But what could we have done, having lost our castle and our main generals? In the end, we were forced into unconditional surrender. Perhaps the destruction of our country was Rokaku Takayori's will. He and the demons had perished, but his wish may have ended up being granted anyway. Princess, I believe it's almost time. So Yukimura wasn't very good at defending our country in the end, huh? I stood as the handmaid opened the door and spoke. Yes, I'll be right there. I knelt in front of the maid who'd served me all these years and gently took her hand. Thank you for everything you've done for me. I wish you the best. You too, Princess. The handmaid wiped away tears with her sleeve. I'm so sorry. If only our country weren't in such a state. No, this was my choice. Fortunately, the monarch of the neighboring country who'd come to rule us was very wise. Oh no! Please don't tell me I'm supposed to marry somebody else. He would surely guide our nations through the era well without oppressing the people. At this point, our land and our people Okay, another misprint. At this point, our land and our people were so weary that may have been blessing enough. However, he also came to me asking for my union with his second son. It was only natural, ruling princess or not, my presence made a difference to all the people. Given how normal it would have been to just kill off the ruling family, it was a very generous step. However, I refused his offer. Woohoo! I want to join the Buddhist convent as a nun, to pray for all the departed souls of this war. Please tell me that's a lie. That was the excuse I gave. Woohoo! I'm like up and down here with every sentence. After that, a year had passed, and now the country and the people had found peace. Under the pretext of leaving the convent, for the convent, I set out on a journey with a single attendant. The handmaid wiped away tears and smiled. Well, he's waiting for you. Be good to each other. Don't fight too much. That might be a little difficult. Bickering was practically a habit at this point. Please, have a good life. We exchanged one last smile, then parted. When I got to the forest, there was an attendant waiting for me. Sorry I'm late.
Are you ready to go, Princess?
The attendant bowed his head and spoke reverently. I smiled and peered at his face. You can just call me Saya now, when no one else is here.
Oh, it's probably Yukimura, right? I guess you're right.
He, Yukimura, nimbly stood and gave me a childish grin. I had lost the castle, my relatives, and even my identity as a princess. And yet, Yukimura stayed by my side. That was more than enough for me. As we walked along side by side, Yukimura scratched his head.
You know, you've just got so many names, sometimes I forget what to call you.
Didn't you just call me Saya from the first day you got here?
Yeah, but in my heart, I sometimes also called you sister.
Then why did you never call me that out loud?
I just never felt that. I just felt like it would feel too formal.
Is that really why?
That and I'd have felt guilty, don't you think? Seeing as how I was in love with you.
From the very beginning.
Hey, the Tanuki's blushing.
Oh, Yukimura! That day, everything had returned to normal. As normal as it could be, I guess. In the end, Yukimura had remained in this world. He had forgiven me.
So, in other words, using magic, you summoned me here from another world?
Yep.
And all the things I remember, those aren't truly my own memories?
Exactly. It had taken a good half hour for the truth to really sink in. Seriously, it took you long enough to get that. Tired of talking in the forest, we just unintentionally wandered back to the castle. Why? We were supposed to be taking off on the journey, and here we are back at the castle. Of course, we'd been encouraged by the recent news of the burning ruins still standing.
I can't help it. It's your fault for explaining it so confusingly.
Oh, so you're going to blame it on me?
It's definitely not my fault.
Yes, it is. It's your fault for being so slow.
I really doubt that.
As I looked at Yukimura pouting, I felt simultaneously amazed and relieved. For the time being, it didn't seem like he'd be disappearing anytime soon. I hope. What? However, the page that delivered the news of the unburned castle had no idea who Yukimura was. Although, since it was he who had shouted to run when the castle fell, she did not dislike him. That was obvious as she was letting him into the castle like this and letting us be alone. Timidly, I peered at Yukimura's face. So, can you remember anything? Have you? Yukimura's arms folded, head cocked to the side, snapped his head up.
I don't know.
Oh. Of course I was glad he was still here, but I also felt something like a little letdown.
There's just one thing I do know.
Yukimura took my hand happily.
We're not really brother and sister, right? No one's going to be bothered by us being together now, will they?
Right, that's true. Yukimura grinned and took off his shirt. Right here? Yukimura, what are you doing? Ah! Suddenly, Yukimura tugged on my arm, pulling me into a hug. Yukimura, what? Yeah, somebody could walk in on us any minute. Finishing what we started in the bath, no one's going... Oh, sorry.
Finishing what we started in the bath. No one's going to interrupt us now.
What makes you think that? Somebody let us in here. She might come to check on us. His lips then found mine in a greedy kiss. His lips were warm. I tightly shut my eyes. Yukimura, we can't. It's still light out.
It's fine. Don't worry.
But... Yukimura smiled and put his hand on my belt.
I can't wait until tonight. Just give up trying to stop me.
Yukimura spoke, his hoarse voice full of passion, and again captured my lips. His hands parted my hem, and as they traveled upward, I had no choice but to surrender. Several months passed. Days had flown by, busy as we were with various things. No one could remember Yukimura, and there were some who were suspicious of him. Wasn't I supposed to go to another land? I also still needed to mourn my parents and real brother, so a wedding dress was out of the question. So both of us rushed around, constantly being interrupted, somehow making time to meet. Until, at last, we found a moment alone, just the two of us. Hey, Yukimura, do you really not remember anything at all? I looked up at Yukimura walking beside me and asked.
Why do you ask?
Because I just can't make sense of why you were the only one who stayed here.
Would you rather I remembered my past?
Yukimura spoke with a slightly cruel and teasing tone. Of course not, but... To be perfectly honest, it made me nervous, as it should. I still worried that one day Yukimura would suddenly disappear. My anxiety must have shown on my face. Yukimura smiled and stroked my hair.
You know, Saya, I'm actually happy that I got to stay here.
You are?
Yeah, everyone's been really good to me, and it's taught my reckless nature a little patience.
It's true. At first you were always so careless, getting hurt all the time.
Yeah, well... Anyway, besides, didn't you say you wanted a savior after you lost everything?
Yeah, I did.
I did too. I don't remember much of the world I came from, but I feel like there's something similar I used to think about. I thought it was all gone, but now I feel like there was something after all.
Yukimura. So I guess we must have pulled him from just the right time in the battles.
So actually, I might have chosen to stay here.
Yukimura took my hand and gave it a tight squeeze.
And now, I have you.
Yes, you do. I squeezed Yukimura's hand back. When I thought about it, it was the same for me. That night, I'd run from the demons thinking I was close to death. The feelings in my heart had been the fear and loneliness of dying alone. Maybe the wish the dagger had granted had actually been about that, not wanting to be alone. Now I had Yukimura. I'd arranged a plan secretly. I'd arranged a plan to secretly live a quiet life in a small village. There, I would throw away my status as princess and live as a regular girl. Not knowing the ways of the world, I knew it would be hard, but it was the path I had chosen. From now on, Yukimura, I want us to live sensibly within my means.
Within your means? You mean within your meager means as a tanuki?
No! Wouldn't that mean we'd be living in the forest from now on?
Ouch!
I lightly pinched Yukimura's hand. I then smiled and gave it another squeeze. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I want to live more down to earth. I want to do all the things I could never do while in the castle. I wanted to find out one by one just what I could do. Along with Yukimura, the two of us would lead a new life together.
Yeah, I'm sure that the two of us together will make it work somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Well, let's get going.
Yukimura smiled enthusiastically and wrapped his arm around my shoulders. Ending? Yes! Yay! A happy ending with Yukimura! Woohoo! And we still have a sequel and date scenario, which will be the next video. But I had to say,
Yukimura!
Oyakata-sama!
Yukimura!
Oyakata-sama! And you'll only get that if you've ever watched Sengoku Basara. I had to put the reference in for my sister. I hope that amused you, Jenny. I know that really sounded sucky auditorially, though. Anyway, sorry for that terrible thing, and I hope to see you for the rest of Yukimura's extras, and that will be all of it for Destiny's Princess will be finally done, and then I will be starting Hakuoki and what's the other thing called? The Amazing Shinsengumi, both at the same time, which you can hear more details about on my main channel in the announcements if you so desire. But anyway, I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye, everybody.